Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Melissa here at Beein Cozy Stitching, and I have the perfect project for you today. This project uses up large print fabrics that are difficult to deal with and lots of scraps that we have saved up. Now, for those of us who don't have scraps saved or who are very pressed for time, this is also the perfect project for using with charm squares and jelly roll strips. So behind me, you'll see an example of today's project. This is our Scrappy Strips Table runner. And you can see that down the center is where we use that large print focal fabric. And along the outside edges, this is where all of those scraps come into play. But unlike our example, this pattern does not just have to be for Christmas. I've got a few examples here I'd like to show you of some different fabrics that would be perfect to put in the center here. As you can see, we've got these big, bold, beautiful, bright sunflowers. We can kind of fussy cut to make sure we get the most of the flower, put it in the center strip there, pull our colors from the fabric to go around the outside. We'll have the perfect fall table runner setting. Now, we can also jump into summer and have lemonade, bright, cheerful, loud colors, bright, keep us happy, right? Perfect for summer. If you have those beautiful paisleys, I really like the paisleys. This is another area that would be perfect to set those in. We also have more fall fabrics. You can keep it as light or dark as you like. Just depends on which fabrics you have in your stash. If you have a Northwoods theme going on, it's a perfect area to put those fabrics in there. A little bit of the Age of Aquarius can go in there. If you have dressers that need to be dressed up in a child's room, you can use those bright wide set prints that are so cute nowadays. Oh my goodness. And for those friends who need just a little something for Christmas, we have those beautiful sewing fabrics that are so much fun. That'd be another perfect area to go ahead and put those in there. So, as you can see, you can use lots and different styles and types of large print fabrics to put in the center, pull your colors for around the outside according to what you're putting on the inside, and you've got the perfect table runner either to keep or give as a gift. So, with that said, let's get started on making one of our own. Okay, so let's get started. Here I have gathered and cut our supplies according to the pattern. Now, for the scrappy strips, you can either use scraps that you have, or if you don't have any, pressed for time, go ahead and use those charm packs, just like I told you before. In our example, I used a charm pack. And you'll notice that I have this little tiny pile here of leftover bits and pieces. I'm going to go ahead and save those because I'm going to go ahead and use those for another project. I think with a nice scant 1/4 of an inch, I can get quite the colorful, cute little strip set going on here to use for something, either to cut out for an applique or to actually put into a piece project. So, like I said, hang on to some of this stuff. Now this will go in my strings basket and I'll be able to save that for a later use. Now, when I got done cutting my focal fabric according to my pattern, I had some leftover pieces that I went ahead and I cut those out into the width that I would need for this pattern. I left the length just in case I decided not to use them in the project, because then I can use this for something else and maybe I'll need it to be a little longer or a little shorter. So this will go ahead into the 2-inch and the 2.5-inch strip basket, and then it'll be all set and ready to go for my next project. Then over here we've got our cornerstones, and we have our sashing strips. So we have all of our pieces and parts cut and ready for us to go ahead and put our quilt together. Now, the next step in our project is to go ahead and attach those sashing strips to the sides of our focal fabric. And we're going to start by attaching these to the long sides first. not the short sides, but to the long sides first. So we'll attach first one border to one side and then the other border to the other side. And when it comes to pressing, my rule of thumb is always press to the dark side. You don't want to have this little lumpy bump sticking up underneath your white fabric, because it really shows through, and it just looks a little neater if you press it towards the darker side. Plus, this is our focal fabric, and so if it bumps up just a little bit here, it kind of gives it a stage, if you will, to show that, hey, this is the important part. You need to take a look here. This is what I want you to see. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to press to the dark side. Once we have both of our sides attached, then it's a matter of taking that last remaining strip, and we're going to attach our sashing strips to the top and to the bottom. So now our sashing strips go completely and totally around our focal fabric piece. Now, our next step is to take our strips, our scrappy strips that we've cut, and we're going to go ahead and put these together. So, what I like to do is I like to put them in pairs of 2 with the right sides together. And then I'll put that through the sewing machine with a 1/4 inch seam along the side. So when you open them up, you've got 2 joined together. And what I'll do is go ahead and go through that whole entire pile, because I like to do chain piecing. So I will pair up each of these with a light and a dark, or 2 different colors, or whatever pattern, or however you want to choose it. But I'll go ahead and I'll put all of these together in this pile in pairs of 2, because what we need to do is we need to join together 26 of these little units together to make one long strip. And we're going to need 2 of these strip sets of 26 pieces. So if we're chain piecing them 2 at a time, then we can come together and we can put the pairs of 2 together. Now we've got 4, so then we're going to have 8, and it just helps make it go a little bit quicker than doing it 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. So go ahead and do whatever method works for you, but what I need you to do next, I need you to attach these little pieces together so that you have 2 strip sets of 26 and 2 strip sets of 6. These are going to be for your sides. These are going to be for your top and bottom. Once you have your 2 strip sets of 6 together, I'd like you to take your cornerstones, and I would like you to attach 1 to each end of your 6-inch piece strip sets. Now, as far as the pressing goes, everything can be pressed in one direction. What you're going for here is to try and keep these seams as flat as possible. So if they're going in one direction, they're not going to be matched anywhere, so you're pretty good to go. So go ahead and just press them each in one solid direction, and then we'll head on to the next step from there. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, you're going to need a couple pins for this next step, because what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to find the center of your 26 piece unit, and that's kind of easy to do because it lands on a seam, thankfully. But go ahead and put a pin in that center part. Can you see where I have my little pin stuck in that center part? Then what I'd like you to do is take your focal unit, and I'd like you to fold that in half, and I'd like you to find your center unit. I'd like you to find your center unit and just stick a little pin in there for the center unit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open this up, and we're going to match centers. So we're going to put one center on top of the other center. Excuse me. And then we're going to go ahead and get that pinned together. And then what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pin the bottom end. And then come through to the top. And then go ahead and pin the top end. I don't know why, but when you do a lot of units together like this, for some really strange reason, if you don't pin in these 3 areas, you end up with shifting or stretching, and for whatever reason, it's either too short or too long, or it isn't right. So if you go ahead and you pin each end, you're assured that you're going to have both ends meeting. And then if you put it in the center, you can kind of ease whatever you've got going on between those 2 pins. And then once you hit your center pin, you can kind of ease it into on the bottom. So that way your strip set matches with your center focal unit and everything comes out really nice and easy. Just gives you a little bit of success. Just a little tip on that one. Okay, so then when we get that done, okay, so now the last thing we need to do, we've got our sides attached, we're all set. Now we need to put on the top and the bottom. And when we put on our top and bottom, this time we need to pin the intersection where the sashing and the scrappy strip meets, and the cornerstone and the sashing strip meets. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to nest these seams together right here, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to do it on the other side. We're going to nest those together so that they lay in there nice and flat and they come together good. Now, for a little cheat method, we're going to lift that up and we can see that that's going to give us a lovely corner. So we're good to go with that. And we'll go ahead and we'll stitch down this side. Then we'll go ahead and we'll pin the bottom. Again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to match up the corners. And we're going to, which way is that going? Okay. We're going to match up the corner. Now, don't be afraid if you have to flip that seam over and press it in a different direction to get it to lay flat so that you have one going one way and one going the other way. It's most important that you keep that corner nice and flat. And so then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to double check it. Make sure that our corners meet nicely. They do. We'll take it over to the sewing machine and then we'll have our top and our bottom attached to it. Okay, there you have it. There's the finished sample to our Scrappy Strips Table Runner. I hope you've enjoyed this project as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you today. Remember, hit that like button if you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Help keep us going. We appreciate you. Have a great day. Happy stitching. Bye for now.